Well, here we go. It is quarterback week here at Perfect Spiral. We've attended the combines. We have watched the players declare for where they're going to play the next season. We have given them every opportunity to impress us before we rank them. And by golly, some impressed, some didn't impress. Some overwhelmed, some underwhelmed tremendously. But in the end, we found our core group of guys who play the most important position in sports to garner the elusive, immaculate, perfect spiral top 11 rating of quarterback of all time. Everyone knows who's going to be number one. But that's not what the question is this week. The question is, who did the algorithm screw over this week? Find out on PSP. Let's roll. Well, John, if that wasn't a little spicy intro there.
It was a little spicy, Joe.
Algorithm screwing some people over, huh?
Oh, it definitely did. It definitely. There were some shockers when you...
First time, we may not have agreed with what the algorithm had to say a little bit.
Well, you did something fun this week. Instead of just sending me the list of like 30 to 1.
Right.
You like actually counted down through text message with pictures of all the players.
Well, it's quarterbacks. It's quarterback week.
And it was, Joe, honestly, like when you got into the top 19... I started to go, oh shit, this is happening.
Right.
And then when you got to 15, I said, oh fuck. And then it just kept happening and happening and happening. Because the notable section this week is insane.
I can't wait for us to count down because I want to actually count everybody down before we get to the top 11.
Yes.
But before we do that, we, as a collective podcast, have to let you know that if you are not following us already, do so. If you are not subscribed to us already, do so. If you do not download our episodes, what the hell is wrong with you? Do so already. If you're not telling people that Perfect Spiral is the biggest rising podcast in the United States, which it's not, but we'll take it.
Yeah, you could say that.
Do so. Because we are here to stay. We are not going anywhere. John and Joe are not going anywhere. Please like, subscribe, download, review our podcast on anywhere you find it. That would be Pandora, Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Deezer, Stitcher, Buzzsprout. Anywhere you can find it, get it there. And do what I just told you. So this week, John and I are going to discuss the quarterback countdown from 11 to 1. Before we get into the notables, before we get into the quarterbacks,
yeah.
I want to take about 5 minutes. And I mentioned something in my intro about how the quarterback position is the most important position in sports.
100%.
And I want to take a minute to tell the audience what that means and why, we're making such a big deal about this week, about the quarterback position. Do we understand that there's not a position in sports that matter? The only position that could compare to the quarterback position is being a goalie in hockey. That's it. Mm-hmm. That is it. There is not another position in sports where one player could hold so much weight on a team's outcome on a weekly basis. It's not like baseball where, Jacob deGrom's pitching and he's pitching great, but the offense doesn't pick up so they're not any good, right? It's not like in the NBA, so like LeBron plays every night, but there are other nights that other guys could step up. In the NFL, if your quarterback is playing like crap, your team has zero chance to win. If your defense is giving up points consistently, your quarterback could just go shot for shot with the other team. Your quarterback is the most important player on the field, bar none. And it's been that way as long as I can remember, whether they were attempting 12 passes a game or whether they're attempting 55 passes a game.
And he's the quarterback is your leader. The quarterback is the guy that the team rallies around. The quarterback is the guy that gets everybody ready on Sunday. Granted, there are other positions, other players that'll do it, but you look at somebody like for example, we're going to obviously talk about Tom Brady. Just look at Tom's career. Just look at Tom. Just look at the leadership that he brings as the quarterback, as the head honcho, as he is the quarterback is the commander in chief of the team. I know that the head coach obviously plays a huge role, but like you said, the quarterback makes that engine run.
He makes the clock tick.
Like they are everything to their team. Why do you think they go so high in the draft? Why do you think they are the most coveted position when it comes to like scouting and recruiting, and it starts in the college level and then it just goes through the NFL.
The quarterback position is the end all be all position in football. There's been 50. What did we just celebrate? The 56th Super Bowl, 55th Super Bowl. I can't remember what
Super Bowl. I think it was Super Bowl 55.
55.
I think it was 55. Oh God, if we got that wrong.
Hey, listen, I
think it's 55.
They're in Roman numerals. It is a piss.
I never know. It says XIV. Yeah. What?
So I could only really count one occasion where the quarterback, and in my lifetime, and where the quarterback did not have a major impact on the outcome of the football game. Mm-hmm. And that was, I think that was the game that the Broncos defeated the Panthers in the Super Bowl when
Peyton Manning's arm was a noodle.
Peyton had like nothing left.
Nothing left, yeah.
Right?
He was just out there just to
really
save face.
Carried them to the title game.
Yes.
But even guys like Trent Dilfer, who weren't good quarterbacks, if you go back and look at his Super Bowl performance, pretty good.
Joe Flacco,
pretty good. And listen, there are histories of teams whose defenses, the 85 Bears, the 2002 Buccaneers with Brad Johnson at quarterback, the aforementioned 2013?
Peyton's Super Bowl?
The Bronco one.
I think it was 14.
14. So there's definitely been a few where there are outliers, but like in every sport, this is the same thing. But for 95% of the time, the quarterback position has been unrivaled as and we're here today. We're not talking about these guys, but look at the difference between a team like the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes and how successful they are, and a team like the Giants. And I'm not knocking the Giants here when I say this, but think about how much better the Giants would be. Seriously, the Giants would be if Daniel Jones didn't turn the ball over as much as he did.
And yeah, it's funny you said. I was just gonna say that him turning the ball over, like you stop that. It just stunts your offense.
If Jameis Winston doesn't have a 30 interception season, the Buccaneers never win the Super Bowl last year.
Exactly.
He doesn't leave the Bucs, and Brady doesn't enter in. There's so many things that require the quarterback to be successful for a team to be successful that there's no way it's not the most important position in sports. It 100% is.
You build your offensive line to protect your quarterback.
It's absolutely, it's absolutely imperative that your quarterback is the lifeblood of your team.
Yep.
There's a reason the Jets, and I'm not picking on the Jets, but there's a reason the Jets haven't made a Super Bowl since 1968. And that's because they've been drafting a quarterback every 5 years in the NFL draft. Same thing with the Detroit Lions.
Yep.
It's just, what are you going to do? And that's why a fan base like the Jacksonville Jaguar fan base was so excited. And that's why teams tank, right? Teams tank because they believe that their team, Joe Burrow, right? And now Trevor Lawrence, teams believe that these guys are going to be the player that turns the franchise around forever.
Yep.
Forever. Tom Brady turned around the New England Patriot franchise forever.
Synonymous with New England.
They will now be known as one forever for the rest of football time. The New England Patriots will be named. When you talk about the most successful franchises in NFL history, the New England Patriots will be on that list solely because of Tom Brady. Same thing with the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners were nothing before Joe Montana got there. Nothing.
The Colts were nothing before Peyton Manning got there.
It's just like, so many teams jumpstart their ascension as a franchise, right? Because of the quarterback. Like I said, there are outliers. Like the Bears, 85 Bears on the Super Bowl. They never went anywhere again. They've been to one Super Bowl since then, and they lost it. But they've never found that quarterback.
Yep.
That's why the Chicago fan base is so ecstatic about Justin Fields.
Yep.
Because you just want to come out of those doldrums. John, how long have the Vikings been looking for a franchise quarterback?
Jesus Christ. Since I've been a fan,
Right.
we haven't had one.
And the closest one you guys had was Dante Culpepper.
Yep.
And he flamed out pretty quick, unfortunately.
And the one that was the unexpected player that took us to an NFC Championship
Case
game,
Keenum.
and Case Keenum
Right.
played like shit.
And he's a
in the
career backup. He just had
career
one good
backup.
year,
Yep.
Nick Foles, he had one good year, but he's a career backup.
career backup. But it's important, and it's imperative that you have that quarterback, Joe. Everything you said is spot on.
Well, I hope everyone is jazzed up about talking about the quarterbacks after that little display. I was going to go to a quick break, but I don't think we really need to.
Let's
It's
just
not a
jump
big
into
deal.
this.
So here's what I'm going to do. Like we discussed before. So we're going to do a little bit something differently this week. Usually me and John do odd and even. But this week what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of synonymously talk about the quarterbacks in a countdown of 11 to 1.
Yeah.
But before we get there, I want to discuss the quarterbacks who didn't make the list. And we can say a brief thing about each one of them. We don't have to go crazy in detail, but we both acknowledge this is going to be a little bit of a longer episode than most. Because,
So buckle up.
Yeah, because and there's going to be multiple breaks. So if you have a pee break, you can go for it. It's fine. No, we won't. Even if you got to do a poopy break, that's fine.
Yeah, you can do it.
That's fine. But I do want to go through the list. There were 31 quarterbacks who we discussed. And one of them, John, he needed to have us put his name in there. And he, of course, came up last because he hasn't played long enough.
Still impressive, though.
But he wanted to put him on the list because of how good he's been since he came into the league. And yes, that is Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes was dead last on our list with a raw score of 40, coming in at number 31. I will say this for Mahomes. If he plays a 20-year career, he's been in the league, this is his third year in the league?
Yeah.
Fourth year in the league? Third year.
It's either his fourth or fifth year.
It's his fourth year in the league.
Third as a
year
starter, yes,
but it's his
correct,
fourth
correct.
year in the league, right? So let's say every 3 years he were to average 40 points, like at a raw score, right? So if he were to do that, so that would put him at 9 years. That put him at 120. At 12 years, that would put him at 150. At 15 years, that would put him at 180. And let's say, 18 years or 15 years?
You said 20.
20. Okay. So let's just say he'd average if he was at this ability for 15 years, right? He would be, I'm not going to tell you who, but he would be in the 3 or 4 range on this list.
Yeah.
If he keeps up the ability he's keeping up right now.
Yeah. I don't want to go too much into Patrick Mahomes because obviously he's dead last on the list.
Right.
But the trajectory for him is absolutely incredible.
Well,
Everyone
the
sees
fact
it.
that he is this, he has a number this, and we said you could expect him to play at this level for at least the next 10 years,
Yep.
right? So even if he were to flame out or anything, if he were to flame out after 10 years, right, and average that 40 raw score, he would have made the top 11.
Yeah, after 10 years.
And that's not in counting him winning any more Super Bowls. That's just based on stats alone.
Yeah.
Right? So Patrick Mahomes coming in at number 31 with 40. Number 30, interestingly enough, a couple of guys that you're going to see, and I'm going to give you the raw score of each guy. Number 30 was Jim Plunkett, who came in with a raw score of 50. So a little bit higher than Mahomes. And again, so when we're going to discuss this a lot tonight on this episode. There was a differentiation, when we get to the top 11, people may think because of our algorithm and our scoring system that it was going to favor the newer generation of quarterback. To a degree, it did. But there were about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would say 5 of the 11 quarterbacks are of the older guard, and the 6 of the 11 are of the newer guard. Everybody on the list is warranted. There is maybe an omission or two that we disagree with, and I think there's one placement that we definitely disagree with.
Yes, which we will.
But we'll get there as we go. Jim Plunkett, number 50. Joe Namath coming in number 29 with 51.5 as a raw score. As I told you before, John. It's an interesting fact. He threw more interceptions than touchdowns in his career.
Very interesting fact.
Wouldn't be a Jet stat if I ever heard one in my life.
Broadway Joe.
But he did win a Super Bowl. He did make the big guarantee. And he is outside of, I don't even know. Even though Eli Manning won 2 titles as a Giants quarterback, Joe Namath may be the most synonymous quarterback in New York football history.
Yes, I agree.
So Joe, he will always have that. Number 28 took a little bit of a jump to a raw score of 67.5, and I believe this quarterback is severely underrated. He is a CBS announcer today. That is Dan Fouts, the longtime quarterback of the San Diego Chargers. Quarterback in the 80s for the Chargers, did not lead them to a ton of success, but nonetheless, he had some pretty good stats. 27 was Ken Stabler. Stabler was the quarterback of the Raiders during the 70s era.
70s Raiders team.
He had a raw score of 72. So he comes in at number 27. Number 26, a little bit more of a jump in score, is Warren Moon with a score of 79.5. And John, I was very intrigued to see that Warren Moon did not have a lot of success as a quarterback when it comes to winning and losing. His numbers were okay. They weren't ever like phenomenal. Like for his time, they were good, but his teams were not very good at all. Did you know that he played 2 years with the Vikings?
I kind of remember that.
Yeah,
but
and then he ended his career in Seattle.
Weird. Interesting.
Right. Started with the Houston Oilers, played there for a long time, then went to Minnesota, and then went to Seattle to end his career. Number 25, and I want to hear from you on this one a little bit. Coming at 25, this gentleman definitely warrants being on this list, even though we knew he probably wasn't going to make it. With a raw score of 82.5, was Russell Wilson.
Yeah, Russell Wilson. I'm glad he made the list.
Clearly, he warranted it because his score is pretty good.
And it's funny because his career took like a turn right after those. Like, I don't want to talk too much about Russell Wilson, but his career took a turn after those really defensive Seattle teams.
Well, he wasn't much of a throwing quarterback.
Yeah, he was very game
manager. And then he
manager.
became like this all otherworldly passer.
Yeah, and his career isn't done yet, but when his
I think
career is
he may have one more title run in him.
I think he does too, and I wouldn't be surprised if he jumps into the top 11.
Yeah, well,
when it's all said and done, I think he's a guy to keep an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 24, we're turning back the clock here a little bit. We're going to go with Sammy Baugh, the quarterback for the Washington Redskins, way back in the 30s and the 40s. But Sammy Baugh coming in with a score of 85.5. Looking at his stats, one thing I loved about this list, all the stats were there for the quarterbacks. There was no weighted average that was needed.
Tackles is brutal.
So Sammy Baugh coming in number 24. Number 23, interestingly enough, I think this man. I'll give you a fun fact about this quarterback coming in with a score of 88. And this is interesting. Now, from 88 to 16, I'm sorry, 88 to 16. From 23 to 16, each quarterback is separated by a half a point.
I know you told that was interesting.
I swear on everything I own, it ended up working out this way. That's just what the score was. So number 23 is Norm Van Brocklin, who was a quarterback of the Rams and later in his career the Philadelphia Eagles in the 50s. An interesting note about Norm Van Brocklin is he held the record for most passing yards in a game, I believe, before Peyton Manning broke that.
Wow.
Like 564 or something like that.
Wow, that's a long-standing record.
And he did that while playing in the 50s.
Interesting.
So
very impressive.
Very impressive.
Very impressive.
So Norm Van Brocklin, number 23. Number 22, John, you wanted to deduct points from this man because he had lost 4 Super Bowls in a row, and that is Jim Kelly with a score of 88.5. Interesting about Jim Kelly, his numbers were nowhere near where I thought they were going to be.
Me neither.
Not as good as I thought he was.
He played a very short career.
Very short career.
I didn't realize that.
And his numbers were mediocre at best, I think.
Very mediocre. But just a side note about Jim Kelly, hell of a guy. What a fucking fighter, man.
Absolutely.
So inspirational, that guy.
To beating cancer like twice now, 3 times.
I think it's like 3 or 4 times. Yeah. What an inspiration.
So good for him. Jim Kelly, obviously an all-time great quarterback, led those 90s Bills to 4 Super Bowl appearances, although they'd never won
appearances.
But appearances is definitely key.
We deducted 3.5 points.
Jim Kelly at number 22. Number 21, the man that put the Dallas Cowboys on the map, and that would be Roger Staubach, coming in at number 21 with a raw score of 89. And I believe there was a year or two where Roger did not play because he was at war for the United States of America. So this number could have easily been higher. But nonetheless, Roger Staubach did win a Super Bowl title with the Dallas Cowboys in the 70s. Did go to war with those famous Steeler teams we've been discussing frequently during this countdown. Lost a couple of those Super Bowls. But, between him and Tom Landry is where the Cowboys really got their start. Number 20, fellow Cowboy Troy Aikman coming in at number 20 with a score of 89.5.
We love some Troy Aikman.
And Troy is great.
Hell of an announcer.
Troy's numbers are definitely lower than I thought they were.
Yeah, very.
100%. But Troy is the reason that the Cowboys are now nicknamed America's team.
Well, they also relied a lot on Emmett. So
we discussed it a couple weeks back. We did running backs, and we said it back then, and I'm going to stick by it now. Looking at Troy's numbers, Emmitt Smith was the absolute most important player on that team.
Yes, 100%.
Most important player on that team. Number 19. You thought this guy was going to make the list, John.
I did. I really did.
You really thought he was going to make the list? I didn't think he had a chance in hell making the list, but you thought he was going to make the list. And that is Eli Manning coming in number 19 with a raw score of 90. Eli clearly too... John, I'm curious. Why did you think he was going to make the list?
So I feel like I thought he made more Pro Bowls than he did. His numbers are very pedestrian. I mean, like Eli Manning's career, I feel like was always very pedestrian. He was always just he made the right play when he needed to.
Hey, listen, that's all you need sometimes.
He was very consistent. He never got hurt. He was always on the field every Sunday. Confused face and all. He was.
There was about an 8-year stretch where Eli Manning was consistently a top 10 quarterback in this league, and 2 of those 10 years, the Giants won the Super Bowl, right?
Against
great teams.
Fantastic. The near perfect Patriots.
Which they made near perfect, yeah.
Yes. And another really good Patriots team. So.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that.
Hall of Famer.
I have a hard time putting him in there, but he probably will.
He probably will.
But I really have a hard time putting him in there. I really do.
He's synonymous with the New York Giants.
But I just don't. See, to me, it's about the eye test. To me, you got to pass the eye test. When I think of Eli Manning, I don't think Hall of Fame. I don't.
Well, there's another guy that's going to come up next that is another question mark for the Hall of Fame. Because when you look at the numbers...
And personally, I don't think either of them are Hall of Famers. I really don't.
The only counter to that argument...
If you put one of them in, you have to put both of them in my opinion.
Of course, but and both of them are in the top 10 passing yards all time.
Well, listen, again, this is because they played in an age where passing was king.
Except one has 2 Super Bowls.
And you can't really weight that so much higher than everything else just because of the era they played in.
Does Eli have 2 Super Bowl MVPs? I know he has 1. Who won the second Super Bowl MVP?
I don't know the answer to that question.
I feel like he has two. So if he has two Super Bowl MVPs, the two Super Bowls, 4-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro.
I don't know, man. His career record is 500.
I know that's the sticking point, though. That's the thing that bothers me most about.
How do
him.
you put a guy
So much
and
losing.
his numbers are good? Like his touchdown to interception ratio is not great.
It's not great. It's not great.
Yeah, he's got top 10 passing yards. Great. He played in an era where everybody threw the ball 45 times a game. Of course, he's going to be in the top 10 passing yards of all time.
Fun little quick thinking exercise before we move on from Eli.
Yeah.
Was he too early or too late? For his career as a quarterback, was he in his era? Was he
I don't think he was
in the right era, or was he too late?
I don't think he was this otherworldly passer. I think he was fine for where he was.
But when you look at guys like Troy Aikman and you look at their numbers and you look at how successful they were and how different the game was,
Right.
what if Eli was in that era?
In the Troy Aikman era?
Yeah,
I thought he may have won. He may have won more.
that's what I'm saying. So was he? He was too.
He's probably
too late.
too late. Yeah, I think. Yeah, because they ran the ball more in the '90s. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and the Giants were at their peak when Brandon Jacobs and Ahmad Bradshaw were running the football.
Yes.
Enough said. Once the Giants lost the running game, you saw how, and that's the thing. Later in Eli's career, it took such a nosedive. Statistics, winning percentage, it took such a nosedive.
Oh yeah, the last 5 years of his career was nothing but loss.
Brutal. It's
terrible.
brutal. Well, that's Eli Manning. Number 18, if you didn't know yet, was Phillip Rivers coming in with a score of 90.5. And Rivers came in a little higher because his stats are better than Eli's. I mean, simply put, he doesn't have the winning percentage that Eli has. He doesn't have Super Bowl titles that Eli has. But his stats are so much better than Eli's that he came in higher. Now, that being said, Rivers didn't win enough for me to consider him a Hall of Fame quarterback. If I'm putting Phillip Rivers in the Hall of Fame, I'm putting Boomer Esiason in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Rivers was an interesting player in his career, right?
Perplexing player.
Yeah, not a lot of winning. The worst throwing motion I've ever seen a quarterback have in my life.
It was such a weird motion.
Oh my God, it was so
But
bad.
it worked.
It worked. Gamer, an absolute fucking gamer. Can we talk about how he played in the AFC Championship game on a torn ACL? A gamer, but just so much losing in his career.
That stretch after LT left was a little rough for him. After Tomlinson left, because they had that really good chance in 2004 where they went to New England. That was the year that he was hurt. And
then 3 years ago, he had a good chance.
And then
that defense, unbelievable.
And I remember Tomlinson left that game early because he got hurt, and it was just like so deflating.
Yeah.
But Phillip Rivers coming in number 18. Number 17, Vikings own Fran Tarkenton coming in at number 17 with a score of 91. There's a guy who would have been majorly successful in today's NFL, I think.
Yeah.
He ran the football well. He threw the football well. He had a short stint in New York with the Giants and then came back to Minnesota. He actually went to multiple Super Bowls with the Vikings. Didn't win one.
Yes, I think we went to 3, right?
Yeah, they lost all 3.
Yeah.
Lost one to the Chiefs. I know they lost to the Chiefs. And which is funny because the next guy on our list was the quarterback of the Chiefs who beat the Vikings that Super Bowl. But Fran Tarkenton was definitely a damn good quarterback during his time.
Yeah, very good.
Very good. Number 16, we're getting close here. Number 16, Len Dawson, as we mentioned, the quarterback of the 70s Chiefs and the late 60s Chiefs. Very good quarterback for the Chiefs during that period. And honestly, he's most famous for that picture after they won the Super Bowl, smoking that cigar in his mouth after they won that Super Bowl title.
Yep.
Number 16, Len Dawson. Number 16 and number 16. Now, number 15 is where it gets a little dicey.
All right, now we're getting into the notables.
Now, here's the jump. 96.5. You want to save the notables?
Let's save them. Let's save them because
Let's
the
do
notables
this
are very
one
good.
because I don't think this one was ever a threat to make the top 11, honestly.
Okay, yeah, let's talk. I know who it is.
Yeah,
Let's talk
so
about
number
it.
15 was Kurt Warner. And his score was 96.5.
The weirdest career I've ever seen a quarterback
Extremely
have.
weird. But I think you talk about guys, and we're going to talk about a guy later on this list who you think changed the way that the position was played. I think that guy may have started it, like very ever so slightly started it, but this guy blew it open. He blew it open. The passing game became a weapon
with Kurt Warner. Yeah.
Before Kurt Warner in the 80s and even the 70s, it was a supplement to the running game. I would argue that Kurt Warner made the passing game such a weapon that teams started to look to pass the ball before they started to look to run the ball.
Greatest show on turf. I mean, and when you look at that team, a lot of their offensive stats still hold to this day. I think that their total offense was just broken 2 years ago by the Baltimore Ravens that first year with Lamar Jackson at the helm. But that team, talk about a team with a ton of Hall of Famers. Marshall Faulk.
So many.
Kurt Warner.
Isaac Bruce. Torrey Holt will be in there.
He should be in there.
Right. Orlando Pace.
Yes. Kurt Warner has one of the weirdest careers I've ever seen anyone have.
He had that really weird stretch in New York where he was not good, and then
terrible.
And then he just revitalized his career in Arizona.
Yeah, and goes to a third Super Bowl, which is weird that he was in 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah, 1 and 2.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And they had a chance. They
definitely had a chance. If it wasn't for Santonio Holmes' 2 feet, that's it. They would have won that Super Bowl.
Exactly.
But we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to start with the top 11. And we're going to go down from 11. Where do you want to go, John? 5 or 6?
What do you mean?
You want to
go
for
the second break?
Yeah.
Let's go to 5, and then we'll go 5 to 2, and
okay, fair enough. All right. So stick with us. We're going to start our countdown at 11 right after this.
Hey y'all, Spencer Blinn, the producer for Perfect Spiral Podcast, and you're listening to my band Hollow Choir's new song, What You Want. Available now on Spotify. What you want?
And we're back here on Perfect Spiral. It is time to discuss. We just spent about 20 minutes going through the list, I think, of who was there, but it's important because we want you to know who was there, where everybody was placed, because I think, it's quarterbacks. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
So, John, we're going to talk about this synonymously.
Yes.
We're not going to do odds and evens.
Nobody's taking numbers this week.
Nobody's taking numbers.
Buckle up, everybody. This is going to be a long one, I think.
Now, the first guy we're going to talk about is a guy that you were almost disappointed to see on this list.
Very disappointed.
But I want to defend him a little bit. I want to defend him, if you give me the chance, after I read off his accolades. And that player is Ben Roethlisberger. Ugh. This current quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Big Ben was drafted in 2004 in the first round, the 11th overall selection. He stands at 6'5", 240 pounds, came out of the school of Miami of Ohio. Now, Big Ben is a 6-time Pro Bowler, a 2-time Super Bowl champ, and he won the Offensive Rookie of the Year award in 2004. Mr. Roethlisberger, to this point, has 60,348 passing yards, 396 career touchdown passes to 201 interceptions, and he's got over 5,000 completions with a completion percentage of 64.4. Mm-hmm. I will tell you this before you go on your high horse about Big Ben. Big Ben is a guy who, through a lot of adversity, a ton of adversity, both off the field and on the field, was so consistent during his tenure. Big guy, never went down on the first hit, had speed at the position to get away if he needed to. And he put the ball, John, in some super tight windows in some really big moments. Super big moments.
Yes, he did.
Won the Super Bowl was it his first year or second year? Yeah, his first year in the league. He went 13-0 in the regular season. Didn't lose a game. And they won the Super Bowl that year. They went 15-1. That's when they beat the Seahawks. The Matt Hasselbeck Seahawks in Detroit. That was Jerome Bettis' last season. They won the Super Bowl that year. That was his first year. And then he goes back to Super Bowl in 2011, loses to the Packers. And then he goes to Super Bowl again and beats the Cardinals. Or was it before? I think he went to the Super Bowl and then beat the Cardinals and then Super Bowl and then lost to the Packers.
Yes. I think he won 2
Right.
straight and then
But the man has had a great arm. He's getting older up there now in age. I think it's starting to show a little bit.
Yes.
But I mean, his teams have been good for a long time. He's only had a losing record once in his career as a starting quarterback of the team, and that was in 2006. It's the only year that he had a losing record as the quarterback of the team. Every year he's had a winning record. Mm-hmm. What else does Ben have to prove? Why are you so down on Ben?
So I think, listen, Ben Roethlisberger, I've watched his entire career.
Right.
I mean, he's one of those guys that we've had the luxury.
Remember when he was drafted? He was in that draft class of Eli and Rivers.
Yes. I think my knock with Ben is more so of who he jumped on the list. Of who, because when we get to the notables, I guess it'll make more sense as to why him at 11 was so shocking.
Now let me ask you a question though. Outside of who was 12, 13, and 14, do you think he should have jumped everybody else that we spoke about before?
I think he's a top 15 quarterback of all time. Okay. Top 16 quarterback.
Gotcha.
I mean, he's been to 3 Super Bowls. He's won 2.
Right.
And his numbers are very impressive. And he was very consistent. He was there every Sunday. He did not miss games for a guy who took so many fucking hits.
Probably more hits than anybody on this list.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you never got.
He's a warrior. He was a warrior.
Yeah, an absolute warrior, and he still is.
Yeah, and it's funny. I think this season's going to be his last season.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard the reports that have come out of Pittsburgh lately, but they've said Ben is basically going to run the offense this year. So I think this is like Ben's last
hoorah.
I do.
Yeah.
I think this is Ben's last hurrah.
It will be sad to see him go when it's all said and done, but I think my gripe with him is who missed the top 11.
Well, he's the last of those 3 quarterbacks, right? Eli, Rivers, and Ben were always talked about against each other because they were all in the same draft class. Yep. And it just ended up being that the last guy taken in that first round ended up being the best quarterback of that class. I don't think that's debatable. He was easily the best quarterback of those 3.
Far and away.
So Big Ben coming in at number 11. At number 10, we have a man who just recently retired and definitely deserves to be on this list.
100%. I thought he would be higher, but I
think he's placed pretty accurately, honestly. I really do. And that is Drew Brees coming in at number 10. Drew Brees drafted in 2001 by the San Diego Chargers in the second round. Came from the College of Purdue. And listen, this is 13-time Pro Bowler, but a one-time All-Pro. Super Bowl champion, 2004 Comeback Player of the Year, 2006 Walter Payton Man of the Year, 2008 Offensive Player of the Year, 2011 Offensive Player of the Year. And his career stats, he's got over we talked about how Ben has over 5,000 completions. Drew Brees has over 7,000 completions, John. A 67.7 completion percentage. The man almost completed 70% of his passes for his career.
And when we start to get to his numbers, he threw in volume.
Well, here's the number. Here's the number. My man threw for 80,000 career passing yards. That's sick.
Insane.
That is sick. He played for 20 years. So if you break that down,
he had 5 seasons of almost over 5,100 yards.
He averaged over 4,000 yards a season. He averaged over 4,000 yards a season. That's incredible. 571 touchdowns to 243 interceptions. And his quarterback rating for his career was 98.7.
Drew's an interesting one, Joe.
I will say this about Drew. Drew is my favorite player of all time. I don't know if you know that about me.
No, I didn't
Drew
know.
is my favorite football player in the history of the game. I think his story is so interesting to me. He drafted by the Chargers, had an injury, Chargers essentially gave up on him by drafting Rivers.
Miami said
Gets
no.
let go. Nick Saban, of all guys, says, you know what? I don't want to take the risk, right? So we all know what happened to Saban after that. He goes to Alabama and becomes the best college football coach of all time. But who knows what the Miami Dolphins could have been if they signed Drew Brees to that big contract.
Yep.
Meanwhile, little-known guy known as Sean Payton decides to take a chance on Drew Brees, and the rest is history. And Drew, for as small as he is, and I think that's part of the thing I love so much, he's such a small guy, and he made it work.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, I'm a small guy, and when I was a kid, I wanted to be a quarterback, and the guy that I looked up to is Drew Brees, because, like, everyone said, oh, Drew never be able to throw over the line of scrimmage. He poo-pooed that. Oh, Drew doesn't have the arm strength. He poo-pooed that. The guy holds almost every major quarterback record that there is.
Yeah.
You know, and class act through and through. He brought a Super Bowl to what up to that point was probably the most losing or what they were known for as the most losing franchise in the history of the league.
And after one of the most catastrophic events in American history.
Absolutely.
Hurricane Katrina.
And he comes back and he just encapsulates that whole town, that whole city. They were his. They were his forever.
Yeah.
To me, I think he was just
Class act.
He's a guy that didn't have the best. You could tell he didn't have the most talent in the world, but he's probably one of the smartest quarterbacks on this list.
Yeah.
Easily one of the smartest quarterbacks. He was a tactician.
Oh, he was. And Joe, what pains me the most about Drew is that I don't feel like he was recognized enough by the league throughout his career.
He never won an MVP award,
Never won an MVP award.
which is wild to me.
One-time All-Pro. And I feel like it, honestly, like, and my Vikings ruined 2 of his runs towards the end of his career. But I will say this. It was sad to not see him win another Super Bowl.
Well, he never got to another one.
I know. And that's the one drawback I'd say about Drew is that in the playoffs, aside from Jay Crowder just got leveled. The one, oh God, he is not doing
He got
well.
hurt in his teeth.
Oof, that does fucking hurt.
Yeah.
So the one thing about Drew that I will say is that in the playoffs, very underwhelming.
Well,
Drew was very underwhelming in the playoffs.
he went to, I believe, 3 other title games in the course of his career. Mm-hmm. One was early on. So they beat the Vikings. That's when the Super Bowl they won.
Yeah.
Remember when they beat the Brett Favre Vikings to win that game? That was
Which we should preface this by Bounty Gate, but go on.
okay. I mean, there are worse things to do, but okay. Than injure players for money, but okay. I mean, it's not really cheating. It's just being a scumbag.
Yeah, it's not cheating, but
it's not cheating. It's just like you're going out there with intent to harm. That's messed up. You don't do that. But remember, they made the NFC title game against the Rex Grossman Bears and lost in Chicago. That was the game that Reggie Bush had a couple touchdowns. It was like the heyday of Reggie Bush. Yeah. And it's interesting because if they had won that game, that would have been the first of 2 Super Bowls where they would have faced the Colts.
Yeah.
Because that was Super Bowl that Peyton Manning won his first Super Bowl title.
Yes.
And it was against the Bears. And then a couple of years later, the Colts got there and lost to the Saints when the Saints got in there. That was the Tracy Porter interception that sealed that game.
Yeah.
Then they lose to who'd they lose to? They lost to the Rams. Mm-hmm. Did they make it a title game after that?
They lost to... Didn't they play? No, they didn't play this year in the title.
No.
They were one and done this year.
They should have gotten there a couple of years in a row. They should have beaten
Miracle in Minnesota.
They should have beaten the Vikings, and then they should have beaten the. There was the Vikings again.
Yeah, when we
Kirk threw the touchdown to Kyle Rudolph in the back of the end zone.
Kyle Rudolph push off.
Right.
All right.
So, but listen, for all that, Drew still won a title,
Yeah, he did.
and we spoke about it before. The most important position in sports. Look at what Drew Brees did to that franchise.
Yep.
Talk about jolting a franchise. You know, now for the now I don't know what the Saints are going to do now with Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston at the quarterback position, but you're
Weird
never
situation.
you're never going to replace Drew Brees ever.
You're right.
We may have, for all we know, we may have seen the best days of the New Orleans Saints, and that's because
That is very, very possible.
and that's because of Drew Brees. So Drew Brees coming in at number 10. Now, number 9, interestingly enough, another active player. And I think it's very easy to say, I shouldn't say easy to say, but I think out of the 3 quarterbacks we just named that we're going to talk about, this one is easily the most talented, the most gifted,
He holds the highest passer rating in NFL history.
but easily, which is interesting because it tells you how good his stats are, the worst playoff performer out of the 3.
yeah.
Number 9 is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers 100% deserves to be on this list.
Yes, he does.
He may be the most talented quarterback ever to play the game of football.
110%. I agree with you. Yes.
Like, his arm skill is otherworldly. He's a better thrower of the football than Tom Brady. He's a better thrower of the football than Peyton Manning. He's a better thrower of the football. I think the only guy that you could compare him to is Dan Marino. Yeah. That's it.
And he does not make mistakes with the football.
No, he's just an absolute freak of nature. Aaron Rodgers' career, drafted in 2005. Infamously, he fell to number 24. Was drafted by the Packers. Sat for 3 seasons while Brett Favre ended his career in Green Bay.
Played around with retirement.
Yeah, right. 6'2", 225 pounds. He's now 37 years old. Good Lord, where the time goes. 9-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, 1-time Super Bowl champ, a 3-time MVP, and part of the All 2010 team.
I think he has one of the greatest touchdown there. I think he's the greatest touchdown to interception ratio in history.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now. He's got over 4,000. So think about this right now, right, John? So Drew Brees, we just mentioned, has over 7,000 completions. Aaron Rodgers has a little over 4,000 completions.
Wow.
His completion percentage is 65.1. He's thrown for 51,245 yards in his career. Now, John, you're right, because this is just not normal.
It's insane.
This is not normal. 412 touchdowns to 89 interceptions.
The greatest, and he's only had 2 seasons where he's had over 10.
That is sick.
Insane.
That is sick.
Insane. Joe, he has the best passer rating of all time. I think it's 110. I think his passer rating is 110 for his career. Am I right?
His QB rating is 103.9.
103. I'm sorry, 103. So, but he is number 1. Insane.
That is incredible.
But Rodgers, you know what's funny about Rodgers is that it's kind of like this is a
Talk to me.
comparison. He's always in Favre's shadow.
You think so?
Because when you look at somebody like Steve Young, who we will get to later, Steve Young, as successful as Steve Young was,
He was never Joe Montana.
he was never Joe Montana. And I feel like for Green Bay, as successful as Aaron Rodgers will be, he won't be Brett Favre.
Well, because he's never won more than Brett Favre did.
Yeah. But, I mean, Brett Favre only won 1 Super Bowl.
Right, he's been to multiple, though.
He's been to multiple. Rodgers is always just short.
Well,
And
what
then
we said a couple weeks
just
ago,
short.
he's 1-4 in title games.
Yeah.
1-4 in title. I mean, that's that ties Donovan McNabb. Like, that's,
Yeah.
that's...
He will be, I mean, obviously there are all signs point to him not being in Green Bay anymore.
Right.
Which, that's a whole nother
And maybe
story.
wherever he goes, he wins again. I don't know.
But watching, I will say this about Rodgers, aside from the being in someone's shadow all the time, watching him play is magnificent.
He's a guy that could wake up and throw a football 75 yards.
Literally with his eyes closed.
His,
Dead accurate.
His arm strength mixed with his arm accuracy, like we're in awe every week of Patrick Mahomes. Now, guy can throw on the run. He throws with his eyes closed. He throws fucking snake eyes. He throws the ball 75. I'm telling you, right now, he's not as talented as Aaron Rodgers is with football. He's not. He's just, Aaron Rodgers could stand back there. He knows where the ball has to go before the play, while the wide receiver's in the beginning of his route. And he could throw it and the receiver could take 15 steps, and Rodgers could pinpoint where the ball needs to be.
And exactly.
It's incredible.
It's incredible to watch. And one thing we should note about Rodgers, throughout his career, he's been kind of devoid of talent.
His best receiver has been Devontae Adams.
Yes, which is fairly recent.
He's never really had a good running back up until really Aaron Jones.
Yeah. Jordy Nelson.
Jordy Nelson's was a great receiver for him. Randall Cobb.
Never really he had Donald Driver.
Never really early.
Very early.
But that was more of Brett's guy.
Yeah. But
never really had a great tight end.
No.
He had Jermichael Finley for a couple of years.
Yeah,
but then he flamed out. He had Jimmy Graham for like a year.
Yeah.
You know?
Robert Tanya now.
But Rodgers is one of those quarterbacks where he makes other receivers around him better.
And that's important. There's not an algorithm for that.
There's not.
There's nothing for that.
You know, there's not a laundry list of guys where, like, a lot of guys on this list, like I'm going, like, you know, we could talk about guys on this list, but there are guys on this list that, like, Phillip Rivers didn't make his receivers better.
No.
He didn't throw them open. Rodgers throws guys open. You know, I don't even necessarily say that Drew Brees or Ben Roethlisberger threw guys open. Right? They threw the ball where it needed to be for them for the receivers to catch it, but they didn't throw them open.
And someone like Rodgers had talent.
Rodgers threw
not Rodgers, I'm sorry.
Receivers open. Yeah. He would throw the ball when guys were covered or in double coverage, and he put the ball where they needed to get to so they could be open to make the catch.
He made Jordy Nelson. You know? Yeah. And you look at somebody like Roethlisberger, that's what I was going to say. Roethlisberger's had talent his whole fucking career.
Well, yeah, between Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell,
Antonio Holmes,
Plax, like all these guys. But Aaron Rodgers is just absolutely insane,
and he deserves to be on this list. Absolutely magnificent player. I hope he wins one more before it's all said and done. I really do.
I mean, I don't, because I want the Jaguars to win. I hope it doesn't anything. So number 8 now. We're going to turn it back a little bit now. So we've talked about the current generation. Now we're going to go back and we're going to talk about a little bit of the older generation. Now we're going to take a trip down memory lane.
And just how different the position is.
Oh, my God. And now we're going to go into the 80s and the 90s. And we're going to talk about a man who's been to the second most, I want to make sure I'm saying this right, the second most Super Bowls of any quarterback on this list. John, do you know who I'm talking about?
Well, I have his numbers up. I know because I saw you pull them up.
That would be John Elway. Yeah. John Elway has been to 5 Super Bowls. Tom Brady's obviously been to 10. All right, he's been to 10. But all the other gentlemen on this list have not been to 5 Super Bowls. John has been to 5. He's won 2 and lost 3. Mm-hmm. John Elway was drafted in the first. He, I believe, is the only player. No. I apologize. He's the one of 2 players, I believe, on this list that was the first overall selection of his draft. And he was drafted number 1 overall in the 1983 NFL Draft, went to the College of Stanford, inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2004. Was a 9-time Pro Bowler, never an All-Pro, go figure.
Interesting.
A 2-time Super Bowl champ, won the MVP, and was part of the All-90s team and the 1992 Walter Payton Man of the Year Award. Played his whole career for the Denver Broncos, he played for them from 83 to 98. He had over 4,000 career completions, 51,000 passing yards. His completion percentage was low, about 56.9.
Yeah, that's very.
300 touchdowns on the nose to 226 career interceptions. So definitely a little bit of a gunslinger there for John Elway. But John did have some speed in him. And I think this is interesting. 31 comebacks and 40 game-winning drives for John Elway across his career. Elway went to Super Bowl in 97 and 98, beat Brett Favre in 97 against the Green Bay Packers, and then beat the surprising Atlanta Falcons In 98, the Morton Anderson kick, John, I'm very sorry to bring that back up to you. But 1998, won a Super Bowl title. Those were his 2 wins. He had previously lost. They lost to the Redskins, I believe, in the 80s. They lost to the Giants, I think, in the 80s. And then I believe they lost again in the 90s. I can't remember exactly when, though. But he did lose his first 2 Super Bowls. And up to about 96 or 97, he was, I'm not going to say he was a bust, but I could honestly tell you, I do not know if John Elway would be in the Hall of Fame if he did not win those 2 Super Bowls at the end of his career.
So I'm looking at the numbers right now, Joe. I'm not going to say his numbers were bad, because for this era, this is where the things differ.
Right, and it started to change at the end of his career.
Yes, right, and he did adapt. He did adapt a bit. So I want to highlight one season from John Elway. Actually, I want to highlight his 1989 season. In 1989, they went 10-5. His completion percentage is 53.6.
That's brutal.
3,000 yards, 18 touchdowns, 18 interceptions.
It's not a good season.
Not a good season, but his career. This is what it was. In 91, 53% completion, 3,200 yards, 13 touchdowns, 12 interceptions.
And look at 1985, 22 touchdowns and 23 picks.
Yes, like this is what his career was, and at the end he did transition.
From 93 to 98, he was a completely different quarterback.
Completely different quarterback. And it's just so different. Like the numbers and the way the game is played is so different. Like you look at those numbers now and it's like, ew.
Right.
Like this is very mediocre.
Like 27-11 in 97 with 3,600 yards is very comparable to what some quarterbacks would do today in today's league.
Yeah.
Very comparable. Mm-hmm. You know? Threw for 4,000 yards. I brought up 1993. 1993, he threw for a 63% completion percentage, threw for over 4,000 yards. The only time he threw for 4,000 yards in his entire career. 25 touchdowns and 10 picks.
What year did he win MVP?
What year did he win MVP?
Because I'm gonna look that up now because I'm actually interested.
I mean, I would argue it was 1993 with how good his season was. Led the league.
John Elway won the MVP award in 1987.
Really? 1987, he threw 19 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. Had a 54. You said 1987?
1987.
54.6 completion percentage, 3,198 yards. Didn't have a phenomenal year. I mean, they went 8-3-1 in that year when he was playing.
That was the year that they lost in the Super Bowl to
the Redskins.
To the Redskins.
Right.
So
John Elway, interesting quarterback at number 7, definitely deserves to be on this list. He was an all-time great.
Yes.
No argument from me there.
Cannot draft for shit at the quarterback position, but that's beyond.
He's trying to find himself, I think, John. He's trying to find himself. John Elway, number 8. We're going to go through a couple more, and then we're going to take a break before we get down to our notables, and then 4 to 1. Number 7, we're turning back the clock a little bit more. We're going back about another 20 years here. And these are where I think these players definitely, but I'm glad that these players are on this list because, you know, I think it's super important to highlight the quarterbacks of the older generation. Just because they were in the older generation does not mean that they were not good quarterbacks. Number 7 is Bart Starr.
Yes.
Bart Starr was the quarterback, if you don't know Bart Starr, was the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers during the 50s and 60s. Green Bay is called Titletown because of Bart Starr and because of those Green Bay Packers teams of the 60s. John is bored by Bart Starr.
No, seven-time champion.
Well, we'll get there in a second. Bart Starr was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1977. He was drafted, get this, John. He was drafted in the 17th round, 200th overall of the 1956 NFL draft.
Jesus Christ.
And if you want to pin that in today's NFL, that is good for the end of the 6th round of the NFL draft.
Wow. I know another great that was drafted in the 6th round.
That's good for the end of the 6th round. went to Alabama, the University of Alabama, and whatchamacallit.
Very strange numbers, Joe.
Well, he was a Hall of Famer, as we mentioned. He was a 4-time Pro Bowler, a 1-time All-Pro, a 2-time Super Bowl champion, as you mentioned, a 5-time NFL champion. So he won the title game 7 years, a 1-time MVP, and part of the all 1960s team. He had, now again, with these numbers, remember, he played in the 50s and the 60s.
Yes.
He had over 1,800 completions in his career, had a 57.4 completion percentage, but had 4 years where he threw for over 60%. Threw for 24,000 yards, 152 touchdowns to 138 interceptions. Now, it's interesting to me that these guys, as you get more and more to today's NFL, you see the touchdown to interception disparity widen more and more and more and more
Yes.
as the years go on. I'm curious to know what the answer to that question is. Why is it that way? Did they not have the film that they had back then to analyze the defense and know where guys were going to be and how to manipulate the game? Were they not as smart as the quarterbacks are today? I don't know what the answer to that question is.
Was it just game planning?
Or was it just game planning? Because I don't know, and it's constant with all the older guys compared to the newer guys. We brought up to you Aaron Rodgers' numbers before, and now I'm talking about Bart Starr's numbers. And Bart Starr won a hell of a lot more than Aaron Rodgers did.
Oh yeah, but he's throwing for 1,800 yards a season and 9 touchdowns to 7 interceptions.
So-
It's wild.
18 career comebacks, 17 career game-winning drives. He was in 10 playoff games in his career, and he won a title. He won in over the course of 1961 to 1967. They won 5 titles, and obviously they won back-to-back Super Bowl I and Super Bowl II.
Greatest coach of all time. One of the greatest second greatest coach of all time, Vince Lombardi.
And I mean, you want to talk about great? Listen to this. 1961 championship, 3 touchdowns, no picks. 10 of 17 for $164. 1965, 11 of 19, 1 touchdown, $157. 1966, the first Super Bowl ever. You ready for this?
Hit me.
35 of 51. 554 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception
That's what he threw.
in those 2 playoff games.
Wow, that's almost as much as his entire fucking
In
season.
2 playoff games, he threw, and then in 1967, he was 44 of 71 for 4 touchdowns and 1 pick. He played in 10 playoff games. Okay. And he played in, I can't tell you how many career games. He played in, I can't tell you how many career games. 196 career games.
Okay.
So in 186 career difference, Bart Starr threw for 1,700 yards in the playoffs and threw for 24,000 yards in
The regular season.
regular season. If you were to calculate his yardage performance from the playoffs and it played it over the course of his career, right? So times 195. Wait, I want to make sure. 20 times.
Quick maths here.
Yeah, not very good. So, so it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So about 19. Well, my apologies.
I'm not good at math, so any sort of stats that need to be done here, Joe takes care of. I can't.
That would have equated to over 34,000 yards. So he would have if he performed. So mainly, my point through all this is he was a phenomenal postseason quarterback.
Yes, very good.
Absolutely phenomenal. There's a reason that he won 7 title games.
Yep. And he deserves to be on this list.
100%. Bart Starr coming in at number 6. We're going to do number 5, and then we're going to take a break, and then we're going to talk about the notables, and then we're going to count down 4 to 1. Number 5, believe it or not, we are probably going to... Am I going to make sure I get this right? Yep. We're going back even further than Bart Starr. And this is the father of the quarterback position, right? When people talk about the quarterback who started it all, the first legend of the position, it is Otto Graham. If you're a football fan and you don't know who Otto Graham is, shame on you. Shame on you. Otto Graham was the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns for a long time. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1965. Drafted, get this, Jonathan. You
Wow.
ready for this?
I just saw it. I just saw it.
Drafted by the Detroit Lions in the first round of the NFL draft, number 4 overall in 1944. You know how many games he played for the Detroit Lions?
0.
0.
So sad.
Just a cursed franchise.
Yeah, just absolutely cursed.
5-time Pro Bowler, 7-time All-Pro. One of the few gentlemen who made more All-Pros than Pro Bowls. Mm-hmm. A 3-time NFL champion, a 4-time AAFC champion. And for those of you who don't know at home, that was the league. What was the name of the league before the NFL and the AFL became 2 separate entities? It was called the AAFC. So, and part of the All 1950s.
Wasn't that the American Alliance Federation Conference or something?
Is that right? Definitely what it's called? That'd be really impressive.
Let me see. Now
What
now I'm curious.
AAFC stand for?
What does AAFC?
If anybody wants a update on the Clippers Suns game, it is.
Oh, okay. It was actually the All American Football Conference. I was wrong.
All-American Football.
All American
Yeah,
Football
that's
Conference.
cute.
I tried.
So Bart Starr's career numbers, he completed 1,400 and Bart Starr, Otto Graham's career numbers. He completed 1,464 completions. He had a career completion percentage of 55.8, threw for 23,000 yards, 23,584 yards, 135 touchdowns. 174 touchdowns to 135 interceptions. 9 comebacks, 8 game-winning drives. He made the playoffs in 1940. Made the playoffs every year from 1946 to 1955. And for those of you counting at home, that's every year of his career. Otto Graham made the playoffs.
Yeah.
And he won a title from He won 5 straight titles from 1946 to 1950. Took about a 3-year break and then ended his career with 2 titles in 1954 and 1955. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the most success the Cleveland Browns have ever had in their life.
Yep.
Otto Graham in his playoff career was good. Was not the same type of postseason performer that Bart Starr was. Mm-hmm. But he's the father of the quarterback position. He played from ages 25 to 34. They didn't start tracking wins and losses until 1950. But listen, 10-2, 11-1, 8-4, 10-1, 9-3, 9-2-1. From 1950 to 1955.
So fucking impressive.
So, and the 1946 to 1949, he won the title, but they don't have accounts for wins and losses. I'm sure he did pretty well in those periods too. So
rightfully so, he ends up on the list. What's his raw score?
I haven't even been giving the raw scores.
I don't think, because we've been so excited to talk about the quarterbacks.
Let's run through those really quick. Big Ben, raw score of 123.5. Drew Brees, 126.5. Aaron Rodgers, 127.5.
Close.
John Elway, 130. Bart Starr, 134. And John, I will tell you that we completely skipped number 6.
We did?
We did. I did. I completely skipped number 6. Otto Graham is number 5, and he has a raw score of 146.
So let's go to number 6.
I did not even talk about number 6. Otto Graham, number 5, everyone. Didn't even
How did I not notice?
completely miss number 6, but we're gonna go to number 6.
I feel like I know who number 6 is, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, why haven't we spoken about him yet?
Yeah. Well, we're gonna talk about him now.
Okay, it is.
So this gentleman also played in the older era, but he now again, just so we're not confused, came in ahead of John Elway, ahead of Bart Starr, but came in right behind Otto Graham with a raw score of 145.5, and that is Johnny Unitas, the best quarterback probably of the era of the 60s, statistical wise. Johnny Unitas was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 9th round of the 1955 NFL draft. Never played for the Steelers. He played his entire career. That is actually not true. He played 9/10 of his career with the Baltimore Colts and ended his career in the San Diego Chargers organization. He was 6'1", 194 pounds, so a skinny guy. Inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1979. Was a 10-time Pro Bowler, a 5-time All-Pro, a 1-time Super Bowl champion, a 3-time NFL champ, a 3-time MVP, part of the 1960s, all 1960s team, and the Player of the Year Award, the Burt Bell Player of the Year Award, 3 separate occasions.
That's before the MVP.
In 1959, 1964, and 1967. The Player of the Year and MVP, I believe, are 2 different things.
Okay.
And then was the 1970 Walter Payton Man of the Year Award.
Very long career.
Johnny Unitas also had a 2,830 career completions, both more than Bart Starr and Otto Graham. Completion percentage of 54.6, over 40,000 passing yards in his career.
Played a long time.
18 years. 290 career touchdowns, which is a lot for that era.
Yes.
Also through 253 career interceptions. So a ton of interceptions, a ton of touchdowns, 34 comebacks, and 38 game-winning drives.
Wow.
That's impressive.
Very.
Now, should note, he did win 1 title in, I believe, 1970 at the end of his career. When they lost to the Jets in 1968, the Baltimore Colts, he did not play in that game. He was hurt.
Wow.
So he did not lose that Super Bowl as people may have thought before. John's dying next door.
Joe with the interesting, useless knowledge.
Yeah. But he, I believe Earl Morrall was the quarterback for the Colts in that season.
How do you know this?
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that was the quarterback's name. That lost to the Jets. And, Johnny came back a couple years later, won a Super Bowl with the Colts before he ventured off to San Diego and politely retired from football, because his last couple of years he was not doing that well.
On a somber note.
But Johnny U was a great quarterback. Probably played in the what a lot of people think is the greatest game in the history of football. Between the Colts and the Giants in the late 50s. The game ended on a Johnny Unitas quarterback sneak to win the game. A lot of people think that if you go back and watch tape, it is the greatest football game ever played between 2 teams, between the Baltimore Colts and the New York Giants. So that's a little fun fact there. So Johnny U,
Number 6.
number 6, Otto Graham, number 5. I'm going to take a break. I need to sip on some beer. When we get back, we're going to talk about our notables. Just missed the cut. And then we're going to count down 4 to 1. And I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of heat about number 3. We'll be right back. All right, folks, we're back here. And we are about to get to number 4 to 1. But, John, before we do that, let us talk about 14, 13, and 12.
Very interesting.
Because I think this is going... There's 3 quarterbacks who we haven't mentioned that everyone knows is in the top 3.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm pretty sure everybody knows who number 1 is, but in order of the other 2, you kind of don't know where they're going to end up. And I feel like the 2 people, the one other person that people may be thinking of, that person is probably in the notables.
Yes.
He's not on the list.
And we're going to get to him right now.
Right. And that is Dan Marino. Coming in at number 14. Raw score of 115.5.
And it's funny
Talk
because
to me, baby. They make it make sense to me.
not a lot of winning at all. He was a career loser for the most part.
Yeah.
Like, the talent was there. For his era, he was the most talented quarterback.
Absolutely.
Not even a fucking question. Dan Marino was an absolute monster. Just never won. Ever.
I mean,
An absolute miserable career, nonetheless.
it came in flashes, I
Yeah.
feel like. He never went to a Super Bowl. I don't think. Didn't know. I mean, he might have actually.
I think they lost the one that he went to.
Yeah.
Wasn't it an almost near perfect season?
I believe it was. Did he go in his rookie season?
Let's see.
I'm trying to on my phone. I'm trying to go to a new tab, and it's just not happening.
I looked up Danny Marino.
Not Dan Marino.
His brother, Danny Marino. So, Hall of Famer, 9-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, 1-time MVP, Offensive Player of the Year in 1984.
Played in one Super Bowl, and the Dolphins lost to the 49ers in 1985.
Yep, and that was it. The numbers are incredible. But another thing about Dan Marino is the numbers were really good early and then just trailed off.
Did they really?
I mean, real quick, Joe, I'll go through it. The first 3 years. So after his rookie year, 84, 85, 86, he's a three straight All-Pro, three straight Pro Bowler, won an MVP.
Right.
5,000 yards, 48 touchdowns in 1984. Unheard of. 48 touchdowns, 17 picks. He followed it up, led the league again, 4,100 yards, 30 touchdowns, 21 picks. Followed that up, 4,700 yards, 44 touchdowns, 23 picks. And then after that, it's just kind of mediocre play. And with that came losing. And a lot of it. 147 and 93 for his career.
Well, can I tell you a quick story about Dan Marino before we move on to number 13?
Go ahead.
Back in 1998, it was the heyday of Jacksonville Jaguar football. Okay? This was Mark Brunell. This was the beginning of Fred Taylor. This was Keenan McCardell and Jimmy Smith and Kyle Brady and Kevin Hardy and all these guys. In 1998, Jacksonville Jaguars played the Miami Dolphins in the first round of the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I am proud to say that the Jacksonville Jaguars sent Dan Marino into retirement in the 1998 postseason. They won that playoff game 62-7. That is not a joke. I'm dead serious. They dropped 28 points on them in the first quarter. And it is the most glorious win in Jaguar history. It is.
He's an atrocious playoff performer. Joe, he's fucking atrocious.
Is he really that bad?
He had a 39% completion percentage in 97.
Yikes.
17 for 43. And it's funny because like when we were doing this, you would think Dan Marino would have been like top 5.
Right.
And it's just like not even close. And I think he's exactly where he should be.
Really?
I think he's yes, because I'm not taking anyone else off the list right now.
I mean, if
I would
you
take off maybe
one game, gun to your head, Big Ben or Dan Marino, who are you taking? In their prime.
in their prime. So that's what I was gonna say. I would swap out Marino with maybe Roethlisberger, but that's about it.
Really? Okay.
That's about it. And that goes for a lot of that goes for the other two notables too. So
Well, number 13, I think, is a guy who we may have expected to be on this list at the beginning of the process, but looking at his numbers, he clearly was not. He's one of those guys, I think, that his team carried him a little bit.
and the first time that we're doing this, that a Steeler from those excellent teams is not on.
So giving it away is John by saying Terry Bradshaw, number 13 on the notable list, coming in with a raw score of 116, a half a point higher than Dan Marino. Obviously won the 4 titles, but his numbers were not that great.
No.
He was a very average quarterback.
Game manager.
Yeah, game manager to the core. So Terry Bradshaw, number 13. And then number 12, John, you mentioned his name before. We're going to mention it again here, and that is Steve Young, coming in at number 12 with a 118.5 raw score. Started his career with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not.
And then went to San Francisco. Sat behind Joe Montana for, I think 3 years after starting in Tampa Bay. So a very, very weird turn. Almost like Kurt Warner-esque a little bit, but didn't win where he first went and then went to a losing team. And then after Joey Montana went to Kansas City, did Steve Young step in and win a couple of more Super Bowls during that time.
Yep.
So those are our notables. Now we're going to get from 4 to 1.
This is where it gets juicy.
So number 4, if you are crossing off, if you're sitting home, you wrote a list down of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, you have 4 left. There is one that sticks out more than the other 3 that should be number 4. Well, folks, that player is not number 4. That player is number 3. We got to do number 4 first. Number 4
Controversial.
is Joe Montana with the score of 150, 4 points higher than Otto Graham. Joe Montana comes in at number 4 on our list. And just, we'll do this together because I think it's interesting. Number 3, I want you to look I want you to look him up. Number 3. Number 4 was Joe Montana with a raw score of 150. Mm-hmm. And at number 3 with a raw score of 157 was Brett Favre. John's pulling up Brett Favre's numbers. While he does that, I'm going to give you Joe Montana's numbers. Joey Montana, Joe Cool, was drafted in the 3rd round of the 1979 NFL Draft by the San Francisco 49ers. Inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2000. He was an 8-time Pro Bowler, a 3-time All-Pro, a 4-time Super Bowl champion, never lost in Super Bowl, a 2-time NFL MVP, part of the All-80s team, won the Comeback Player of the Year award in 1986, and then won the 1989 Offensive Player of the Year award and the Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year award and the full Player of the Year award. Joe Montana threw for 40,000 yards in his career, threw for 273 touchdowns to 130 interceptions. That is a very good ratio for a quarterback in the 80s, I think. That's a phenomenal ratio. 26 comebacks, 28 game-winning drives. And in the playoffs, he won Super Bowls in 1981, 1984, 1988, and 1989. His career playoffs is 62.7 career percentage, over 5,000 yards, 45 touchdowns to 21 interceptions. And in 1989, he listen to this, this is sick, 65 of 83 for 78%, 800 yards, 11 touchdowns to 0 interceptions.
What a run. Probably.
That is ridiculous.
That's insane.
That is nuts. And then in 88, he threw 8 touchdowns to 1 pick. So in those 2 title years of 88 and 89, he threw 19 touchdowns to 1 interception and threw for over 1,600 yards.
What's insane, too, is that people forget that
in 6 playoff games.
He went to an AFC championship game with those Chiefs.
They lost to the Bills.
Yeah, he went to the AFC championship game. Montana, it's weird because when you think of Joe Montana,
People think he's the great. I'm sorry to cut you off. People think he's the greatest winner of all time before Tom Brady.
Yes, and a lot of people have him as the 2nd greatest quarterback of all time.
Yeah.
Like in history.
Argument to be made for him for sure.
Oh, of course. Of course. I do think that he should be ahead of Brett Favre.
Absolutely.
But Brett Favre's numbers...
I do not agree with our algorithm for number 3.
No, I don't. Brett Favre's numbers are just absolutely astronomical.
I'm curious. Can you repeat them for the people in the back?
So do you want to do something different? You want to do Montana and Favre together?
Well, I did Montana already.
All right, so we're going to Favre now.
Yeah.
Favre at 3. Okay.
Right.
So what was Favre's raw score? Did you have
157, 7 points higher than
So
Joe
157.7. So Brett Favre is obviously a Hall of Famer, an 11-time Pro Bowler, a 3-time All-Pro, 1-time Super Bowl champ. He also lost one. 3-time MVP, 1995 Offensive Player of the Year.
So he was a 3-time MVP.
3-time MVP.
Yeah.
He threw for over almost 72,000 yards.
That's where in Montana threw for over 40,000 yards. That's the difference, I think.
508 touchdowns to 336 picks. Brett Favre was the definition of a gunslinger.
Holy, but still his disparity is pretty over almost a 200 differential.
Yeah, so that's where he made up the numbers. Now that's I would argue the algorithm got it wrong for those two.
Right.
And I would swap them.
Because I think clearly Brett's touchdown number and yardage number came as a huge factor.
Yeah, it put him over the top.
Against Montana.
I will say this about Favre, though. Ultimate level toughness.
Oh, absolutely.
The game that he played the day after his dad passed.
I remember that Monday Night Football game against the Raiders.
Legendary game. The game he played for Minnesota against Green Bay. He was perfect.
Oh, except for that one pick. Oh,
yeah,
my God.
but he was perfect.
I remember the year before he was with the Jets, and they were doing really well. And then he got hurt.
Yeah.
And they lost 4 games in a row to end the year. Then he went to Minnesota, and they went like 13-3, right? That year?
We went 13-3. We went to the NFC Championship game, and Bounty Gate happened. He wouldn't have been able to play in the Super Bowl had we won.
He got mauled.
He was broken. Adrian Peterson, then the pick. Favre with the
John's living.
Favre with the. He didn't do it all year that year. He was so good at keeping control of the ball. It was one of his best seasons. He almost won MVP.
Argument that he should have won MVP.
Argument that he should have won MVP. He does the typical Brett Favre Green Bay sidearm across your body
into the middle of the field.
Into the middle of the field to get picked off. I think it was Darren Sharper. Was it Darren Sharper that picked him off?
Darren Sharper.
Hardest hitting safety in the league. Anyway, but I think it was Sharper that picked him off. And dude, I hate that I just went down memory lane because now I just got sad. But yeah, Favre was a pleasure to watch. I mean, talk about Green Bay. You go Bart Starr, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers in your quarterback pantheon. It don't get better than that.
No, it really doesn't. Title town for a reason.
All right, number two.
So everyone knows where this is going. So there's no really debate here. Number 2. Now, here's where I think the eye popper is. Peyton Manning has a raw score of 227.5. Mm-hmm. Exactly 70.5 points higher. John, 70.5 points higher than Brett Favre. Peyton Manning just inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. The second of our first overall selections. God, Trevor Lawrence, please be good. Drafted by the Indianapolis Colts. Shares a birthday with my mother. I did not know that.
Oh, that's weird.
That is weird. Listen to this. His nicknames are the Sheriff, the Caveman, or Pay Dirt.
I've never heard anyone call him the Caveman or Pay Dirt, but I have heard the Sheriff.
I think the Caveman is phenomenal.
He does kind of look like
Jesus, Mary and Joseph. 14-time Pro Bowler, 7-time All-Pro, 2-time Super Bowl champion, 5-time MVP, part of the all 2000s team, 2003 Player of the Year, 2004 Offensive Player of the Year, 2004 Player of the Year, 2005 Walter Payton Man of the Year Award, 2012 Comeback Player of the Year Award, 2013 Offensive Player of the Year Award, 2013 Player of the Year Award. And here is where the statistics come in. Over 6,000 completions, a 65.3% completion percentage, 71,940 yards, 539 touchdowns to 251 interceptions. So a better than 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio for Brett Favre. 43 comebacks, 54 game-winning drives for Peyton Manning. Went to the playoffs in all but 2 seasons of his career.
Mm-hmm. I believe it was 2.
1998, his rookie season, and the year in 2001 in Indianapolis. And he obviously didn't go to the playoffs in 2011 because he was hurt and missed.
Had his neck fused back together, and
But his playoff stats, he threw for over 7,000 yards in the playoffs, 40 touchdowns and 25 picks. That was the thing about Manning that when we talk about Montana, Manning, and Brady, the reason that people put Montana ahead of Manning is because Manning was not a very good playoff quarterback at all. I mean, if you look at these stats here, I mean, even in his Super Bowl year, he threw 3 touchdowns to 7 picks in his Super Bowl year. They won the Super Bowl. So he didn't necessarily really have a great playoff.
That was one thing about Peyton that was weird, right? Like, arguably, Peyton is one of the smartest quarterbacks of all time.
I think he may be the smartest quarterback of all time.
Like, the way he broke down game film, the way he watched film, the way he broke down a defense. He knew where every single defender was on the field, like, to a T. But in the playoffs, it was always like he just kind of came up.
He just struggled.
He struggled. And we could talk about, so now obviously number one, everyone knows the number one is Tom Brady. Peyton Manning was a victim of a similar thing to what teams that played against the Chicago Bulls was. You ran up against the greatest player of all time. Tom Brady stole championships from Peyton Manning. Like, Michael Jordan stole championships from Stockton, Barkley, Malone.
Yeah.
Like, it was like that. That was the one team he couldn't get past. In Peyton's entire career, he could not get past the Patriots.
He got through him once, and that was the year they won the title.
Once. He could not get through New England. And in the playoffs, like you said, Joe, he struggled.
I mean, I'm just looking at some of these playoff numbers. I mean, they're over the course of games, but like 2008, 1 touchdown to 1 interception. 2007, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. 05, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. They're not like eye-popping, Like, they're not like...
He never dominated like he did in the regular season. We're talking about a 5-time MVP here. We're talking about 7-time All-Pro.
He was bounced out in the first round of the playoffs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. In the first round, he was bounced out 9 times.
And that's important to note.
Wow.
And those Colts teams...
14 and 13 in the playoffs.
Yeah.
1 game over 500.
Those Colts teams were good. He went to 4 Super Bowls. He's 2-2. And one of the
4 Super Bowls?
He went to 4. He went to 2
2
with
with the Colts and 2 with the Broncos, right?
And the one Super Bowl that he lost to Seattle,
they got blitzed.
He got pummeled, and he threw 55 touchdowns that year.
Right, that may arguably be his best season.
Yeah,
Broncos season
ever.
And I remember that an opening night, he threw 7 touchdowns on Thursday Night Football. And Julius Thomas was the year that Julius Thomas came alive.
Yeah, like 19 touchdowns that year.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And then Jaguars signed him to a contract and he sucked.
And then you get pummeled in the fucking Super Bowl.
Yeah. It's just
ridiculous.
But Peyton Manning, an absolute magician he's the smartest quarterback of all time.
Yeah.
And I watched him he haunted my team for years.
Literally, he was in your division.
For years. Just owned that division for 15 years. And then they get lucky because he gets hurt, and then they draft Andrew Luck, and it's all over again.
Yeah.
Some teams just get quarterback lucky.
Yeah.
Like even the Colts, right? Johnny Unitas, Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, and now who the hell knows? They got Carson Wentz. He probably revitalized his career in Indianapolis too.
All right, let's just rip the Band-Aid off, Joe.
Listen.
I
don't know how you feel. It's Tom Brady, obviously.
Let's do it.
With a raw score of an absurd 274.5. Are you a person that hates Tom Brady, or are you a person that likes Tom Brady?
I love Tom Brady.
Okay, so do I. I'm very glad you said that. Tom Brady, as everyone knows, was drafted in the 6th round, the 199th.
Who doesn't know it?
Right? Went to Michigan College. Will probably be the only player during the Legends series that is number 1 on our list that is not in the Hall of Fame yet, and that's because he's still playing.
Yes. For however many years he chooses to play.
Right. So here are these numbers. This is just out of control. 14-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, 7-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time MVP, one of the few players joining Ted Kendricks and I forget the other player who we mentioned. But part of 2 all teams, the 2000s and the 2010s. 2007 Offensive Player of the Year, 2007 Player of the Year, 2009 Comeback Player of the Year, 2010 Offensive Player of the Year. His career, over 6,700 completions, 64% completion percentage, 79,204 yards. That is good for number 1. 581 touchdowns to 191 interceptions.
Isn't 581 touchdowns number 1 also?
I believe so, yeah. And Tom had 39 comebacks, 48 game-winning drives.
Unbelievable.
I mean,
7 times.
in 2007, that near-perfect year, he threw for 4,806 yards, 50 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. That was in 2007. That was the year before he got hurt. I don't know. Let's just look at his playoff numbers. In Tom's career, he's 34-11 in the playoffs.
Unreal.
Okay. 63% completion percentage, over 12,000 yards, 83 touchdowns to 38 picks in the playoffs.
I believe he holds every playoff record as well.
And he's only been eliminated in the playoffs 3 times in the first round. 2009, 2010, and 2019, recently when they lost to Baltimore in the first round. No, Tennessee. Tennessee in the first round of the playoffs. Is there anything really to say?
Tom, so we're lucky. We're lucky.
To be this has been the golden age of quarterbacks.
Yes.
And he is the icing on the cake.
He is and I almost could get emotional talking about it because it's like I witnessed greatness like in my lifetime, right? Like I never got to watch Jordan.
Right, we were young.
We never saw Jordan. We saw LeBron, but LeBron ain't Jordan. Tom is the closest thing that you're going to get to that level of dominance.
When you talk about the greatest athlete of all time, there's 4 names that come up. And I feel like it's the 4 names all the time. It's Michael Jordan, it's Wayne Gretzky, it's Tom Brady, and it's Tiger Woods.
Yep.
Those are the 4 athletes that stand above everybody else ever in the history of sports. Talk about the Mount Rushmore of sports athletes. Those are your 4 right there.
Yep.
Those are your 4 guys. Jordan, Woods, Gretzky, and Brady. Brady, and here's how I'm going to tell you there's a difference between Brady and everybody else. Unlike Tiger Woods, whose body broke down on him, Tom Brady gets hit every Sunday, never misses a game, is 43 years old, and is still winning titles. Tiger Woods, for as great as he is, his body has failed him.
Mm-hmm.
Playing golf.
Yep.
Okay? Michael Jordan, compared to Tom Brady, Michael Jordan didn't win for the first 7 years of his career and then went on his title run. Tom Brady came in and started winning in year 2.
Yep.
Okay? Gretzky, I don't know that much about, but
I think Gretzky was pretty dominant throughout.
Gretzky was pretty amazing. If I have to, I'm trying to see if there's like here we go, hockey reference. There we go. Wayne Gretzky was a 4-time Cup winner, a 9-time MVP. Good Christ, 15-time All-Star. Just absolutely. Gretzky's probably the second. If I had to rank the most dominant athlete of all time, it'd probably be Brady, Gretzky, Jordan, and Woods.
Yep.
In that order.
Oh, sorry, I just hit.
But what Tom Brady has been able, what he did. Can we talk about for a minute what they did this year? What he did this year was unbelievable.
Magical. And you know what's funny is like you would think Tom did it all, right? You would think he's done it all in his career.
And everyone said the same thing.
Like you would think that he's done it all, right? This was the first time that he had to go on the road. The first time he was a wild card team. He made the Super Bowl as a wild card team and won the fucking Super Bowl. He won the Super Bowl in his home stadium.
Huh. Didn't even think about that.
And Joe, he's 43 years old. He's still winning.
What?
Joe, they brought back all 22 starters. You know why they brought back all 22 starters? Because Tom fucking Brady is the quarterback. I cannot wait for the season to start. And honestly, I'm going to say it right now. They are the favorite to win the Super Bowl. I don't think it's even a question.
Right.
Do I want to see him win 8? Abso-fucking-lutely. I will. If he is in the Super Bowl again, I cheer for Brady every time he's winning the fucking Super Bowl. Because you know what? It is fun as fuck to watch him. He is a tactician.
It's amazing.
It's literally. I watched the Chiefs game and I'm just like, I'm sitting there and I'm texting my friend and I'm texting you. I'm like, we just saw greatness. We just saw Tom win 7. He just won his 7th Super Bowl.
And he's been to 10.
He's been to 10. He won 7. And you know what's crazy is imagine he won the perfect season. Imagine he had that on his resume.
Yeah,
well. And Joe, not to mention, he has the greatest comeback in not only Super Bowl history, but playoff history. Coming back from 28-7, and he won. He won.
You didn't give him enough credit. It's 28-3.
28-3, he won. I watched that game, and that is the game.
In a quarter and a half.
In a quarter and a half. And granted, a lot of it has to do with Kyle Shanahan's awful play calling. But you watch that game, you come out of that game, and if there was any doubt, there was no more doubt.
Now, I will say
greatest quarterback of all time. And then he won 2 more after that.
I will say this. If there's one quote-unquote knock on Tom, it's in these Super Bowls, they have gotten bailed out a decent amount. The Seahawk call in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, okay.
The Atlanta miserable play calling, right?
He should have beaten Philly.
The Chiefs losing both of their tackles before the Super Bowl game. Right? You know, David Tyree's ridiculous catch in that Super Bowl. Right? But they weren't playing well in that game to begin with.
Yeah.
Above all that, he still has done it. He's still done it.
I think he's a 5-time Super Bowl MVP.
I don't even know. Does it really matter?
It doesn't even matter. I want to see him win 8. And honestly, it's amazing.
The thing that gets me is he went to Tampa Bay this year. And people, you know what's funny? Like when guys go to a team, like you know, I'm gonna use it on the Nets, right? When the Nets got James Harden, everyone was like, well, the Nets are gonna win the NBA title. Mm-hmm. Doesn't happen. Yankees get all the best players every year, and well, not every year, but most years. Or the Dodgers before they won the shortened pandemic season, which I don't even really count as Super Bowl World Series title. And they're like, the Dodgers have the best team, so they're going to win. Never happens. You know. LeBron's on every team. He's always going to win. It doesn't always win.
4 and 6 all time.
Brady goes to the Bucks, and people are like, wow, the Bucks, look at him. Good, they got 2 receivers, they got a couple running backs, they got this, they got that. Brady should win a Super Bowl. And he wins it. He doesn't even they don't sputter out the first round. He actually goes out. He took the regular season as a season-long preseason for him. And then said, okay, I'll go win another title with these guys. And he wins.
Yep. And it's funny. It's just funny because the biggest question was it Brady or was it Belichick? And it's like, as Belichick is probably the greatest coach of all time, you could separate the two. You could separate the two now.
I think Brady's ahead of Belichick.
Yeah. Oh, I think he is too. The fact that he went into Tampa. And you know what? Listen, it's just, dude, It's
amazing.
It was amazing. It was amazing to watch him win again. You know? Like how weird. It was weird. And then it's like, holy fuck, he just did this again.
And he's not done.
He's not
That's
done.
the best part.
He's not done. And he actually came out. It's funny we're doing this now. He came out yesterday. He said, it's not about proving it to anybody now. It's about proving it to myself. It's like, whoa, this is the next era of Brady. I need to prove it to myself now.
He's going to play till he's 50.
Yeah, like what else is there to prove? I mean, not to mention he has the greatest training regimen of any athlete probably ever. I mean, aside from maybe LeBron. But dude, it's been an absolute pleasure to watch him, and he far and away will stay number 1 on this list. He is the bona fide, undisputed greatest player of all time. The quest for 8.
Quest for 8.
Quest for 8.
Get 8 and be great. There it is. Tom Brady, number 1. We have finally finished. We have taken more than enough time of your time today for the quarterback edition of our Legend series. This is easily, I think, our longest running episode so far.
It is.
But I've had a blast doing this. Tonight was fun.
Yeah, tonight was definitely fun.
Tonight was fun.
We always have fun, but tonight was extra fun.
John, where do you want to head on the for the next thing? What do you want to do?
Well, we just covered we've been going back and forth. You know, I kind of want to. Would it be terrible if we stayed on the offensive side of the ball?
No. What do you want to do? Tight ends?
Let's do tight ends.
Tight ends next week.
Yeah. I had a special request from the old Italian fellas at Bocce today.
Okay. Oh, to do tight ends?
Yeah, they were like, "Who's number one on the tight ends?" And I'm like, "We didn't get to the tight ends yet." One of them yells, "Jeremy Shockey," and it's like, he's not going to be on the list.
Oh my God.
Probably Tony Gonzalez.
So we will do tight ends next week. John, any last words before we head out?
I don't, man. This was great. Great episode.
This is awesome. Folks, as always, make sure you listen. Hope you enjoy the content. If you want to hear anything or there's anything you want us to discuss, please let us know. Hit us up on Twitter. Hit us up on Facebook. Hit us up on TikTok, anywhere that we have social media. And please know that in a month's time, we will be finally discussing fantasy football. It'll be FFA season. And before you know it, the NFL season will be here. Until then, you got me and John every week until the NFL season starts. All right, folks. We'll see you next week.
Have a good one.
PSP out.